Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Network 216 exclusive of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Zach DeFranco, Jack Robinson. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this Wednesday evening?
Doing good. Doing really good. It's good to be back. Jack, I just got to ask you a quick question before we get started.
What's that?
How do you feel about the Browns defense?
Oh, I love it. It's so good, dude.
I think that's the first time I've heard you say that in 3 years.
You know, because I think that's the truth. I think that it has it's the first time it's been good in like 2 years.
It's funny you mentioned. There's a reason why you mentioned that, Zach, and it's hilarious. We'll talk about some of all the roster moves that were made, not only for the Browns but across the NFL. Before we do, guys, just a reminder: drop a like on tonight's video. Really help that YouTube algorithm grow for Network 216, but also subscribe if you're brand new to the network. We're very close to reaching 2,000 subscribers, and the goal is to get there by the end of the year. We're very close, less than 200 away. We can't get there without your support, and let's make that a goal, 2,000 before the end of the year. There also is a link for the Network 216 Discord that you can check out if you decide you want to join for free, see what it's all about, or if you want to join, be a premium member. That's something you guys can check out as well. So be sure to check all that out. Really appreciate your guys' support. And like I said, there's plenty to talk about tonight. So let's get right into it. So, gentlemen, the Browns have announced their 53-man roster for the season. Also, Eric, how you doing? Appreciate you joining us. Brownie Talks, love it. Appreciate you guys that are joining us. A lot to talk about tonight. The Browns have announced their 53-man roster, and if you guys can't see it, most everyone already knows it anyway, but we're going to react to it. So there are some players that don't show up on this list, just so people are aware of. Michael Dunn, he was added back to the practice squad today, but it projected to be back on the 53-man roster at some point, and also defensive tackle Maurice Hurst. But outside of that, guys, is there anything that really stands out to you? We've had over 24 hours to really review this. Is there anything that really stands out to you guys about the roster this year that maybe surprises you, or just anything that stands out in particular?
Well, when it first happened, I think we all collectively agreed, like, keeping Nick Harris and Whippler, as to be kind of like your swing guards is what it looked like at the start. Because, you let go of Dunn and you're like, okay. And then Jack Duffin, thank God for Jack Duffin, because he posts, he's not going to hit waivers. Michael Dunn can't hit waivers. So then you go, okay, we're going to get him back. So at least you have your swing guard that you can trust to fill in for sure if something were to happen with Batonio or Teller. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm not going to lie. I'm very, very shocked that Jordan Elliott made the roster again. I am. I'm not sure how you guys feel. Jim Schwartz obviously sees something in him. I trust Jim Schwartz, so I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very similar. I think a lot of people were wondering if Nick Harris was going to get traded before the start of the season. There's still a chance he could be. And then Jordan Elliott, I'm still surprised that he's on the team. He didn't show really anything that would make you think that he would make this team. I'm wondering if maybe just the fact that they knew that they were probably going to keep Maurice on the practice squad, they just thought, well, we can probably just keep Jordan Elliott, and maybe Andrew Berry and Jim Schwartz have some sort of belief that he can do something more than he's already shown us. But I'm not really sure why he's still there. I remember seeing, I'm just glad that Maurice didn't actually get cut or anything, and that we do get to retain him on the practice squad, because I think he made big steps in the preseason games he played in. But yeah, I mean, I was shocked by the exact same things that you were, Zach.
For me, Jordan Elliott, once I saw it explained a little bit more, it makes sense. I mean, he had too much guaranteed money, and I didn't think they were just going to flat out cut him. The reality is, we talked about it a couple weeks ago when we went over our winners and losers from one of the preseason games. I believe might have been against the Eagles in particular. The reality is, Jordan Elliott, he's not very good. He hasn't been, but one thing he is he's always been available. I don't think he's missed a game in his career outside of having COVID one season. So that he has going in his favor. Like he really does. And
Mhm.
Schwartz saw something, whatever it might be, and thought, okay, you know what? I need this guy. I don't know what that is that he saw, but clearly he saw something, so have to go with it. The other thing that really just doesn't make any sense to me still, and I had people coming at me on Twitter just because I said this, I still don't understand why Nick Harris is on this roster. I get it. Like, he looked good a couple times, especially against Green Bay on Christmas Day, stands out. He's had some decent performances. He got outplayed this preseason by Luke Whippler. He's looked very subpar when he's played anywhere but center. Actually, I'll say this. He's actually looked really below average as a guard. I think Luke Whippler is that guy that can be more of a swing guy for you, even though I don't necessarily want him at guard. I don't understand why you're keeping Nick Harris unless I'm seeing people suggest in the chat that they are going to try and trade him. I don't like the idea of Whippler playing guard a lot, and I don't like the idea of Nick Harris ever playing guard. Nick Harris has less than a year on his contract. It just doesn't make sense to have him on the roster at this point when you could have kept some other guys. So that one really surprises me more than anything else, I would say. I think just looking at what we're seeing here, it's very encouraging seeing undrafted free agents make the roster because that means they're earning their spot. Ronnie Hickman absolutely deserves it. Mahmoud Diabate, same, deserves it. And you could have made the argument that there are some other guys that deserve the opportunity. But how do you guys feel about UDFA's making this roster? I think what it shows, too, there's a lot of talent on this roster, there's no doubt. But one thing it shows, these guys that we signed as undrafted free agents, I think they can contribute this year if called upon.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it just shows how in depth that, you know, this organization really does study the draft, because you're landing these guys that are obviously making an impact and going to be on your roster outside of the draft. That's really, really, you know, a breath of fresh air to see. I think AJ Green was waived today, though. I think that's something we missed because
he's on here. I think he's going to be added back. It sounds like, unless someone claims him, and because technically he does have guaranteed money. So if someone claims him, they'll have to take on that money. So I think he comes back and he's on the practice squad, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it's just we have a deep team too. So the fact that you're seeing undrafted free agents make the 53, that's crazy, and that's awesome to see. Especially Ohio State guys like Hickman and stuff. It's really awesome to see. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can never have enough depth on a team, and especially when you have guys that are undrafted that are hungry and they're coming in here and they're proving themselves as valuable pieces. Like you always want to see that, because you know that those guys, obviously they're good for your team in terms of just, you know, what they bring on the football field, but you know, they're beneficial in terms of the fact that, you know, they don't cost a lot of money and you can find diamonds in the rough that no one really thought about. And it really shows like that Andrew Berry's, you know, scouting and his evaluation of some of these talented players that, you know, kind of go under the radar is working, because you're finding guys that other people didn't look at, although a lot of people were saying that guys like Diabate were at, like, he asked people, like, teams not to draft him after like the 5th round because he wanted a better option. So like there's guys who are super talented that aren't getting drafted and the Browns are picking up and finding use for them, and that's always what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. I'm seeing some comments here about Maurice Hurst. No, Maurice Hurst is not on the practice squad. He's going to be back. Mary Kay said that, and then we had to wait for another Browns analyst to confirm that information for it to officially be correct, apparently. No names, obviously, on that one. But yeah, Maurice Hurst is coming back. Makes a ton of sense. Maurice Hurst should have been on this roster, and I think he would have been, but also I think Maurice Hurst recognizes the Browns gave him an opportunity when no one else would, and so he's willing to do this. I would say, too, the thing that really – I feel like you could have gotten a better third tight end. I mean, because Harrison Bryant hasn't shown us much, and I see Albert O getting traded to the Eagles, and I think to myself, dude, if we didn't have Harrison Bryant, I'd do that in a heartbeat, because they gave up nothing for him. So other than that, though, I'm pretty happy with the roster. As we're looking at it, though, because we haven't had a chance to react to this, what were your guys' thoughts on the Pierre Strong Jr. trade. They brought him in from New England for Tyrone Wheatley Jr. Wheatley Jr., my apologies, the offensive tackle, who wasn't going to make the Browns roster. Some thought he was really talented. New England pulled the trigger. What are your guys' thoughts on that trade?
I think that's something where, like you said, Tyler, he wasn't going to make the roster, but in general, he played great in the preseason, and that's where a lot of these guys, like, especially when they play for teams like the Browns. I said it a few weeks ago with us, like, they know they're not playing for technically a roster spot even on the Browns. They know their situation going into it. We got a deep team this year, but they're still playing for a position somewhere. They still got to, these games matter to them. For someone like Wheatley, I thought he could have been a swing tackle here, but we already have, I think, two of them with Jones and Hudson. So, yeah, it's a great trade for New England, and we traded a position of strength for a position that we were in need of at running back. I don't know what that says about Jerome Ford going into week 1. I know he was practicing this week, so that's a good sign. Do you guys see us taking another flyer on someone else at running back too? I know me and Tyler talked about it on Twitter a little bit today. I don't know. I still think maybe one more piece at the running back position, but right now we're going in there with 3. So, yeah,
if I had to say anything, I would say that the Pierre Strong trade was really kind of like a pretty damning look at Demetric Felton and I guess John Kelly, but mostly Demetric just because of how many chances Demetric had to make the roster. Mm-hmm. He never really carved out a role on the team. A lot of people thought he might step up into that role once Jerome got hurt, and he'd be able to really kind of take over, especially as that third back. But clearly they just didn't see what they wanted. And kind of like Zach was saying, I mean, when you have a position of strength like the offensive linemen, and obviously they're all very well coached and they're all very skilled at what they do with Coach Callahan, really getting the most out of these guys. You're able to flip them for guys at positions that you need more help in, and they thought they need more help.
I'm wondering if they really, because I mean, Demetric Felton could have been a little Swiss Army knife for us still. He still could be a playmaker, but obviously now you have that with Elijah Moore too. So I'm wondering, do you think they looked at Demetric Felton and was like, if you can't return kicks and punts, then we don't really need you on this roster at all? I think that's another thing they looked at him for, because that's honestly what I saw him being when Grant went down.
Yeah, and I think that was the only thing that they really could use him for at that point. Mm-hmm. And obviously, like, from what we've seen, he's just not, particularly adept at it. So I think that they just couldn't really find a place to keep him. They just couldn't find an excuse to keep him on the roster.
I think the thing with Demetric Felton, I normally defend Kevin Stefanski. I think he's done a really good job given the circumstances he dealt with. But one of the things I would say, the way they've handled Demetric Felton since he's been drafted has just, I think, ruined his chances of having a decent career. When you're moving a guy that is a running back, trying to put him at receiver, which is not his position, and then you're trying to flip him back then to running back, and that's what he has to do in order to make the roster after mainly for you playing wide receiver. Like, I don't know. That's not easy to do for anybody. Mm-hmm. So I think it was kind of going to be an uphill battle for him. I was a little surprised, because we're going to talk about it next year. A little surprised he didn't make the practice squad, or even if he got the opportunity, I wonder if he just said, no, kind of like Cade York. But the Pierre Strong Jr. trade, I'm all for it. I mean, he's a guy that, great RAS score coming out of South Dakota State. Fantastic player for the Jackrabbits. And in New England, he never got an opportunity. I mean, you had Ramondre Stevenson, Kevin Harris. You also had, what's his name? I'm forgetting. Another Harris that was there, just got traded to Buffalo, but I can't think of him at the top of my head. It's been a long couple days, so I can't think. Dwayne. Maybe it was Dwayne Harris. I don't know. But either way, he was buried on the depth chart. It made a lot of sense. New England needed help at tackle. We weren't going to keep Wheatley anyway. See if Strong can push. Some people think Strong could be the running back too. He has that type of ability. So it's going to be interesting. But I want to ask you, Damian Harris, thank you, Brownie Talks. Thank you. Been a lot going on the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate your help there. But Jack, I want to bring this to you because Zach brought it up. He and I had a discussion on Twitter along with some others. Do the Browns you look at this offense, but behind Nick Chubb, you have 2 unprovens that have 10 combined NFL carries. Would you be more comfortable if they added a veteran? Are you good with the 2 guys they have now? What would you do? And then Zach, you and I will obviously add on to this because we had a pretty good discussion on this earlier.
No, I think that you definitely do want to get another proven guy, at least a guy that has is a veteran at the running back position in the NFL. Obviously, because of Jerome's injury, we still don't know exactly how long they expect him to be out, or if it's an injury that could be easily re-aggravated, and we also just don't really know what kind of role these 2 are going to take behind Nick. Like, obviously Nick's going to get a lot of the first and second down reps. Are they going to try to have a rotation with Jerome and Pierre? If they are, I just don't know how comfortable I am with that, just because, again, we don't really know how these guys are going to play in the NFL, because Jerome never really got any chance, and Pierre was, like you said, he was buried on the depth chart last year. And I think they have a lot of potential, but in a year where you really want this offense to be the main thing, winning you games, because, again, the whole game is run through the offense. Like, the NFL is built for offensive football. You need to get first downs, you need to get touchdowns, so you need to have a good running game. So I would love to see another a veteran. I know, like, some people are looking at like Tariq Cohen. I know some people are looking at just some of these other guys that are still available. I don't know who you guys were referring to. I didn't particularly see that conversation.
So okay, and again, for the record, for those of you in the chat, if you guys follow me on Twitter, some of you that might interact really take to heart that I'm saying the Browns need to go out and sign somebody, when quite frankly, I'm trying to have a conversation, just seeing what people think. But anyway, Jack, I suggested if the Browns weren't happy with the lack of experience, I would go look at Leonard Fournette personally.
I did see that.
And the reason I wouldn't go Kareem Hunt, if the Browns wanted Kareem Hunt back, it would have happened. I firmly believe it. And I think if they're going to add a veteran, it would be someone else, someone different. Zach suggested Cordell Patterson, who I love. But then the issue with Cordell,
if the contract was right, was right, he's got to rework his deal.
Yeah,
he has to.
Yeah. So. The hard part that we were discussing is the Falcons, outside of Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson, they don't have anybody. Cordell Patterson can be a guy they can put at receiver. He can come out of the backfield. They can put him all over the field. He's still making like $4.25 million for this year, and they don't have a lot of depth behind Robinson. So I think that would make that one tough.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what you would think you'd have to give up in order to get Cordell Patterson? Because has there been any indication that they're going to get rid of him or anything? Like,
also, thanks, JD. I do think the Browns have a 100-man roster. Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that. I needed a little humor.
That's funny. Oh man,
there's no indication. I think there was speculation before the roster cut downs that they would move on, but now that he's on the roster, they only kept 3 running backs. I don't see them trading him.
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that they have a rookie as their starting running back. So I don't know.
Yeah, that might be a little difficult to work out. I think Lenny would be interesting. I'm curious, like, how, because I mean he got upended in Tampa Bay, didn't he? Like, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I'll say. I mean, he is going to be 28, but where I will defend him is he was playing behind the worst offensive line in the NFL. It didn't matter who ran the ball. They couldn't run the ball. So that's what I would say about Fournette, and I do believe he would take it would be less money than Zeke, or maybe right around it.
I think that would be a good one. I think that if you got Lenny for around the same amount as Zeke, which, I mean, Zeke got how much again? Like 6? Or was it
around 5?
Yeah, I thought, was it 5? I'm not 100% sure. It's somewhere in that range. If you get a guy like Lenny and you bring him in, you make him your RB2, I think that's like the perfect situation for him. Especially, I mean, you get him in there behind probably the best offensive line in the league. He doesn't have to take, as many as many reps as obviously, he would have been taking in Tampa Bay. And I mean, just you have him behind Nick. And I mean, he doesn't have to be in there every single drive. He doesn't have to be in there every single, first, second, third down. I mean, I think that would be perfect. I just don't know how much. I'm not sure whether they would be willing to give that like $5 million for Lenny. I just don't know what exactly their priorities are in terms of their money. Because obviously I feel like if they could have given him that contract and they were already going out and giving Pierre Strong or making a trade for Pierre Strong, that they would have probably gotten Lenny if that was like something that they were willing to do anyways. So I'm just not really sure where, a veteran running back actually lies on their list of priorities for right now.
So I looked up Ezekiel Elliott, and the contract is I mean, I'll be real. I would have signed Zeke Elliott for this. It looks like that his base salary is $1.5 million for the year. He got a bonus of $600,000. He gets a per game bonus of $850,000. Guaranteed salary of $500,000. His cap number is going to be $2.9 million. I think it has the opportunity to go up to $5 million.
Yeah, I mean that would be a good contract for the Browns to work with. That's actually an interesting question. How Kareem fell off. I mean, that's just the
good question. Good question, Rocky Balboa. And I'm really sad you were not in the latest Creed movie, by the way. I think it just came down to they saw how he looked last year, and they're like, this guy might be done. That's what it looks like to me, because when you saw Kareem on the field, this guy's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he just looked like his legs were gone.
Yeah, he had no acceleration. He had no he couldn't find the gaps. He could because he's a very lateral gunner. He runs laterally, finds gaps, and then hits the gaps. He just could not hit anything. It seemed like he was getting basically hit at line of scrimmage every single play. So it's just unfortunate, but yeah, I think he's slowly, he's outlived his usefulness for a lot of NFL teams.
Yeah, and it's showing right now because I believe it said he had 4 offers from teams, and he's waiting on the right offer. He's probably not getting anything. I mean, that Zeke deal also
killed him.
And yeah, it's gonna hurt a lot of all the these free agent running backs right now, like Lenny. I mean, if we can get Lenny for what Zeke got with the Patriots, I would do it. I would do that.
I just think let's say we don't want to think like this, but if Nick Chubb has to miss a couple weeks, I mean, it has happened before. Do you guys really feel comfortable with Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong? Like that. That's what. Like right now, I don't personally. That's now because I haven't seen them play.
I do because of the offensive line that they have in front of them, and now you also add Watson and a air raid attack. So I do feel comfortable, but I would add one more running back to have a running back by committee, kind of like what San Francisco does, type of deal. That's what I would do just in case.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Zach on that one because there were some games where, the Browns didn't have Nick Chubb like a couple years ago, just during
Dearness Johnson
COVID.
took over.
Yeah, and I mean, like you have guys that are able to come out and play very well at the running back position. Now, obviously, yes, they're not Nick Chubb, but I mean, you don't need a guy that averages 5 yards a carry in the NFL every single game. Like you just don't. Like obviously, you love having Nick Chubb. But you can live with Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong as long as, the offense is what we think it's going to be, which is a pass-first offense. So, yes, obviously, I think, the Browns would be better off if they got a guy like Lenny who could come in and be like, if you really need him to be a number one back behind this offensive line. But I think if, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have made this roster the way that they want to, and they get what they expect, which is going to be a high octane, air focused offense, then you don't really need to worry about, Nick's out for 4 games. We need we need Jerome and Pierre to be more than what they are. Like they can be what they are. They can be okay running backs that can do what they need to do behind the offensive line, be serviceable, and then the quarterback and the wide receivers can basically, carry the rest of the weight. So obviously, yeah, if we had Lenny, I think it would be better, but I don't think that it's such a big position of need in terms of like how the offense is run that they need to go out of their way to basically do anything to get a guy like Lenny or another proven running back behind Nick.
Would you guys agree with this comment that Jerome Ford is the biggest question mark on the offense?
Yes.
I think maybe just in terms of because he's the number 2 running back at the moment. Yeah.
And you don't really know what you're getting out of him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I also agree with
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa that I think Elijah Moore will play a lot more reps at running back than a lot of people think.
I
We
do
saw a
too.
lot of
I think it's going to be like occasional. He might get a carry out of the backfield, but I think it's going to be majority of running routes out of the backfield because that just creates a mismatch on a lot. There's no linebacker covering Elijah Moore in the open field.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So I would definitely agree with that. But Jeff brings up a good point that he and I were talking about Zeke, but what do we know? That brings us to the next portion, and that is the practice squad that was announced today. And the reason that's a good segue, I did suggest that the Browns look at potentially adding this guy to the roster. They did go out and they added offensive lineman, former first-round pick Alex Leatherwood. Now, before, because there were a lot of people like, oh, well, this is stupid. This makes no sense. Alex Leatherwood has completely underachieved since he's entered the NFL. There's no question whatsoever he's been awful. He never should have been a first-round pick. He was a day 2 guy all along. But one thing he was very good at Alabama, protecting Tua and Mac Jones. He was very good at Alabama. And if there's one man that can fix this guy and make him a future, maybe the future left tackle for the Browns, and yes, I did say that, it is Bill Callahan, because Alex Leatherwood is still only 23, 24 years old. Right here, this is a low-risk, potentially high-reward addition to the practice squad. So what do you guys think of that addition?
I mean, I know it was a practice squad ad, right? I know it was. But do you think because of the question mark, and I mean, Connie makes a good question there. Jed Wills could be one of the biggest question marks on the offense as well. Do you think that this could be a move just to kind of light some sort of fire under Jed's ass? Like, not only did we get one of your former teammates, we got someone that we know could fill in at left tackle under Bill Callahan too.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, but you also get someone that Jed probably, I would assume, has a good relationship with, because they did play together. So I assume there's a good relationship there. But I'll tell you what, I'm not here to say that Alex Leatherwood is even going to ever turn into anything. Mm-hmm. But when you're taking a former shot in a first-round pick that's 2 years removed from being a first-round draft selection, he played with the Raiders. Not necessarily a great situation. He played with the Bears, and we know how bad that situation was last year. He has the opportunity to be coached by the best offensive line coach in the NFL. I'm not here to say that, like I said, I don't know, can't predict the future if he's ever going to be good. But if there's an opportunity for him to be good, it is with the Browns. Because Bill Callahan, like he's done with DeJuan Jones, there were some questions about him. There are lots of questions about Alex Leatherwood. But I think he could be something for the Browns. I really do. Jack, what are your thoughts on that addition to I know it's just the practice squad, but there's a lot to like about that addition.
You know, when I heard that Alex Leatherwood was going to become a player available for the Browns to pick up, I just had a feeling they were, just because I know Andrew Berry and how much he loves his first round picks. So like I had a feeling this was going to happen, and I do think that this is actually this has a really high upside of actually helping the Browns out a lot. Obviously, yeah, you know, a lot of people are still curious about Jed. I think that Alex Leatherwood is just a great addition just to see what he has, because I think a lot of people, you know, they look at him and they say, well, he was terrible with the Raiders and he was terrible with the Bears. But I mean, if you look at that whole situation, it was just a terrible way to actually evaluate how good he was as a player. I think a lot of people thought, you know, oh, they reached for him in the first, and then, you know, a lot of them saw him as a second round, you know, offensive tackle. And I think that just the situation he was in, and then obviously, you know, just him being upheaved in his second year or in his third year to go to the Bears, The whole situation was just bad. I think you bring him in, you give him some leadership under Bill Callahan. You really see what he has as a player. It's zero risk, super high reward because this guy still has the talent and the capabilities to be a starting caliber left tackle. And if anything, you either, you bring him onto the team and you bring him onto the offensive line rotation as a guy that can, really give you some good reps, or you could even, bring him back and make him a suitable player and trade him. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for what you can do with a player like Alex Leatherwood, who, yes, he doesn't have a good reputation right now, but he was a first-round pick. He has the pedigree from a good university, and, he does have a good, like you said, a good relationship with Jed, so maybe that can also help Jed just kind of get over some of the humps in terms of what he's dealing with right now in the league.
This is a really good point by Rocky Balboa as well. Look what they did with Wheatley.
Exactly.
Very
You
true.
can flip him. You can make him, obviously maybe not make him as good as, a first round pedigree player you would expect him to be, but you can make him a serviceable guy, a guy who can at least play the position at a level that everyone thought he could as a first round prospect, and trade him. Or if you really, think that Jed isn't the guy, you can rotate to Alex Leatherwood, if you think he's good enough, or just have him as a stopgap for another prospect. There's a lot of options. It's a good idea to bring in guys like this, and Andrew Berry loves to do it. Also because he's a former first round pick, which is he just loves that.
Exactly. That's I have to admit that's the main reason it stuck out to me. He's a former first round pick. He has the opportunity to be taught by Bill Callahan. It just seemed like it was a match made in heaven when you look at it. Connie adds that Jed Wills is the biggest question mark on the offense. I would agree. I think that's a good shout for sure. But again, when it comes to Leatherwood, something that also stood out to me when looking at this practice squad, Michael Dunn's going to be back on the active roster at some point here soon. And also they spelled his name wrong in the press release. That's hilarious. Even though he's been on the team the last couple of years. Once Michael Dunn goes to the active roster, the only offensive lineman on the practice squad is Alex Leatherwood. So they clearly, I think they might believe they have something there. And he does have a decent amount of experience as far as starting games. So another piece that you can mold into clay. But guys, there's another name that sticks out on this, and it's not a guy that's returning. Can we talk about just Andrew Berry finding a way to get PJ Walker onto the practice squad? I mean, dude, I saw it. I'm not kidding. So at first I'm like, Kellen Mond, I get it because he knows the system. And then all of a sudden, Ton Pelicello is like, the Browns have actually signed PJ Walker to the practice squad, and Kellen Mond will remain a free agent. I was like, what?
Dude, what a ride Kellen Mond was on the last few days, dude.
That was the fact that it went from he's cut to, oh wait, crap, we only have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, we need him back, to actually, Kellen, you weren't very good. You could just leave and we'll just get PJ. Like that.
Actually, Kellen, we traded for a kicker and he needs your number, so you gotta go.
Oh my god,
dude! I'm not kidding. I actually felt bad for Kellen Mond, dude.
Man.
That's a brutal. So not only that, guys, the Browns trade Josh. They actually are going to put Kellen Mond on waivers. Then they trade Josh Dobbs. Nope. Don't want to put you on waivers. You're going to go to Kansas City. You're going to play really poorly, and then we're going to cut you. Oh, we're going to sign you back to the practice squad. But, we can get PJ Walker, so we're actually just going to leave you in free agency. I have to admit, I actually feel bad for him because that's brutal.
That is brutal.
That's pretty toxic. That's a pretty toxic situation to be in, dude. Oh,
could you imagine? Could you imagine his phone? Just like he keeps seeing Andrew Berry call him, and it's like, "Yeah, what's up, Andrew? Did you? What's going on? Yeah, we're actually we're not adding you to the practice squad, but I'm sorry about that. That was kind of a dick move, but we'll see you later, man. Good luck out there." And then just hangs up the phone like, that must have been the strangest interaction.
But I mean, you guys look at this quarterback room now, and of course, PJ Walker, who knows if he's even called up to the active roster this year. You would hope not, because that means everything's going to plan and there's no issues. Your quarterback room, Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and PJ Walker. Not only, I mean, do you have a very intelligent quarterback room from just a lot of various experience with Watson, PJ Walker too, being around the NFL, and also what he did in the XFL, which we can't forget. But a very athletic quarterback room. If you have anybody, if Watson does miss a game, DTR can step in. Maybe they like PJ Walker to step in. I'm confident with whoever, if someone had to take reps at quarterback, hopefully, again, not for long term, I'm pretty confident they can get the job done.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I really like this QB room.
I do too.
I think it's like, obviously I really liked last year's QB room where it was Jacoby, then Deshaun, and Josh Dobbs, because obviously I think we thought very highly of Josh Dobbs and his ability to play. We all loved Jacoby. We all knew what Deshaun could be. So like we were all super happy with that. But I mean, from what we've seen from Dorian, we know that he's a really, really solid prospect player. He's going to be a really good backup for years to come for this team. And, you know, Deshaun played very well in the preseason. I think he's showing what he can be, and that obviously, you know, and even in a limited offense, you could see a lot of the flashes of what we want to see. And then PJ Walker, like he's had some very, you know, good moments in the league. Like even though obviously, he hasn't had a lot of opportunity, he's shown to be like a guy who can come in and make plays if you really need him to. So I mean,
that's the thing. And that's the thing. What you needed someone with a little bit of experience, you know, added to that room with DTR now being QB2. You needed a little bit of experience and someone that fit the system that you're bringing now to Cleveland as well. And that's what PJ Walker does. So, I mean, I am sorry for the mind games that Hillamon had to go through, but dude, it just made more sense. It does. It was a great move. I like it a lot.
I could make the argument that from a skill standpoint, what their skill set is, this quarterback room is better than last year from the skill. Their skill sets match seamlessly.
Yeah.
The thing with Jacoby, he was obviously more of a pocket passer, but now you have guys that are same skill set.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. We're going to get to some comments here in the chat here, but I did want to continue with the practice squad. Someone mentioned, did Hassan Hall make it? He did. Again, I was surprised Demetric Felton wasn't here unless he decided not to. Can we also just talk about the fan base, and us included probably?
Oh, God.
Thought Austin Watkins was gone and we're upset about it, but he ends up coming back on the practice squad. I thought he was going to admit, I'm shocked. I don't understand that one. I don't know why a team doesn't pick him up. I really don't.
I have no idea. I have no answer to that because I really thought he was going to get claimed pretty fast. It's like almost everyone that people were like, oh, dude, like, why did we cut them? They got claimed right back on the practice squad for us. So makes you wonder, though, what their plan is with Watkins, because he's talented, man. He's got that it factor for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy he's back. I think I want to see if they can continue to develop him on the practice squad. If maybe there is a chance that he could be brought up to the active roster at any point, like not for any bad reasons, like a bunch of wide receivers got hurt, but like, hey, let's just see what he has. Let's see what he's capable of, and you know, the fact that he's on the practice squad means that we'll probably see him next year. Maybe that you know, they'll bring him onto the roster next year and they'll try it again and see if you know, there's a spot for him, which I think is awesome. I want to see a guy like Austin Watkins continue to improve because he showed us a lot this preseason, and I think that he can become a really good player if he's given the opportunity.
Something to keep in mind, guys, as we are looking at the practice squad. For guys in the chat that aren't aware of this, you can pick 4 players each week to protect. That's the reason you want to keep an eye on that. Because if a player's not protected, they can be stolen from an opposing team. Mm-hmm. But then if they are stolen, they do have to be on the active roster. That is a requirement. Now let me make this clear. If you do take, like, let's say, for instance, someone steals Austin Watkins, because if you guys recall, this happened with our good friend of the show, Davian Davis. Davian Davis was picked up by the Texans, and they had to put him on the active roster, but they can make him inactive on game day. He just has to be on the 53-man roster. So Just something to keep in mind for everyone in the chat, because I wasn't sure if everyone was aware of that. I think if you're looking at who's going to be protected, if I had to just take a guess off the top of my head, I would say Jalen Darden for kick returner purposes. I would probably say Tristan Hill, Isaiah Thomas, and Alex Leatherwood. Probably what I would say. Or I would take out Tristan Hill and put PJ Walker on that list, so you have your third quarterback just in case.
Yeah, I think PJ's a lock for that.
Is there anyone else on this list, guys, that stands out to you?
I just want to shout out Mitch. Mitch donated $10 to us, so thank you a lot, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch. Go Browns, baby.
Go Browns, baby.
Is there anyone else on this list that stands out to you guys? I think getting Isaiah Thomas back on the practice squad's big. I like Lonnie Phelps, even though he didn't produce a lot. They like their defensive ends. They kept 3 defensive ends from that group, so clearly they see something there.
Zaire. I thought Zaire could have possibly been your tight end 3.
I would have. Hey, if they could have traded Harrison Bryant, I would have had him as my third tight end. Easily.
Yeah, so I like that. And obviously, Tyler, we got to talk to him this offseason. So, Tanner McAllister, dude. I'm pumped that he got back. Yeah.
Dude, so I saw a report that said he would have other teams interested. I wonder if he chose Cleveland because originally they gave him the opportunity. I wonder if that happens sometimes with this. I'm so happy he's still here, man. That dude can play multiple positions. He really came on at the end of the preseason. And I think what benefits him is playing special teams. He can play slot corner. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. That's going to give him an opportunity possibly later in the year if they do keep him protected. So
I'm just happy that Michael Dunn's still on the practice squad, because that's just a guy who it seems like whenever you need help on the offensive line, he comes in and he can play. He's just a solid guy who can come in and play like any position on the line. He's got you. So, I mean, I'm always happy to see guys like that, because you can never have enough depth at offensive linemen. That's just a fact.
Hey, I'm always happy to see alumni of the show be on the roster.
Yes, sir.
Which that's a great feeling. A great feeling. I am surprised by Forstall a little bit, because I thought when they brought him back that they clearly like him, because he's been here a couple times. So I was a little surprised he wasn't. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on the practice squad before we get to a good amount of comments here that people have wanted to talk about?
I think I'm good. I think we nailed it.
Okay. All right. And I'll even put this graphic back up if anyone in the comments wants to talk about the active roster again. Okay, so let's see. Someone was saying, I think Kevin Stefanski, this is Pee-wee's Burnt Pizza. Love the name. I think that Kevin Stefanski has been holding back his true offense because he knew that Barry would move on from Baker. Then Watson got suspended, so he didn't want to show his hand with Jacoby. I'll let you guys interact, but the first thing I would say is this is false from the standpoint of Kevin Stefanski has always ran a Shanahan-Kubiak style offense. He has not had a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. So he wanted to get, when you acquired Watson, you wanted to use the offense you're going to see this year. You wanted to use that last year. They tried it in the Texans game, tried some of it, didn't work, because you're trying to learn an offense on the fly at the end of the year. It's just not going to work. That's not on Watson. It's not on Stefanski. It's on the fact that it shouldn't have been implemented when it was. I'm telling you, this offense that they are running, this is not what Kevin Stefanski's philosophy is. This is Kevin Stefanski as a play caller and a head coach designing an offense around his quarterback, which is what a good offensive coordinator does. And I'm saying offensive coordinator because he is going to be calling the plays, and he does scheme up the offense along with Alex Van Pelt. So just something to keep in mind, because this is not the typical Kevin Stefanski offense. This is new to all of us.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it is. No, he wasn't really holding anything back the last few years. What Stefanski is really good at doing, though, is playing around his quarterback's strengths. So obviously he knew with Baker, these are his strengths, obviously, until the end with, the he said, she said. Baker wanted to do this. Stefanski wanted to do this. Stefanski's basically like, all right, go ahead and air it out then. And we saw what happened. And with Jacoby, he made Jacoby look like a top 10 quarterback for a while here. So he's very good around playing to his quarterback's strengths. I feel like if we had the situation at quarterback we have this year, last year, it would have been a whole different offense. A whole different offense. He would have already been running the offense that he plans on doing with Deshaun too. Maybe not showing too much, but at the same sense, you would have quarterbacks fit around the system to go out and run it. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting. It really is, and it's going to be a whole new, different type of offense that we've ever seen from Stefanski, even going back to Vikings days. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, basically, you guys basically took every word that I was going to say. So
yeah, we did it to you. We did it to you.
Look, man, we just know each other that well.
Yeah,
we're like
so. Pee Wee asks, "How do you feel about Leatherwood?" I mean, we hit on Leatherwood a lot. I think it's a potential lottery ticket here. I really do. He's that type of. He's clearly talented. I mean, the Raiders reached on him as a first-round pick, but he still has a lot of talent. I mean, when he came out of college, the biggest thing for him is he was raw. They said he should, even though he's a two-time national champion at Alabama, he's still a raw talent. He's only 24 years old. So Bill Callahan can make something out of him, then you could. This is not me saying right here at 8:53 on Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. I'm not saying he's the Browns' future left tackle, but I'm saying he could potentially be a guy that could play that role down the line if it works out. So I love the addition. I know we've talked about that a lot, though. Let's see. Rocky Balboa, what do you make of the analysis choosing the under for 9.5 wins?
Let him.
I understand it. I disagree, but I understand why people are doing that.
I mean, dude, the only one that I made a tweet about it, but like, it was also I wake up before I am for work, so when I saw it, I was really mad. I was grumpy, But Nick Wright, dude, did you guys see that? What he said?
I saw it.
Like, come on, man. Like, okay, if you don't like us anymore because we got rid of Baker, that's one thing, and you're a Chiefs fan, so you're probably scared a little bit. But the fact that you gotta say that Stefanski's the worst head coach in the division and Watson's the worst quarterback, like, come on, dude. Come on. There's 3 great quarterbacks in the AFC North, and we know that. There's 3 great quarterbacks. You don't got to tear one down just because you don't like him. And there's an unproven quarterback in Kenny Pickett. So that Nick Wright comment just really it put me into a shoot today. It worked me into a shoot. That's for sure.
Let's be real. It all comes back to Deshaun. Like if they had anyone at quarterback that you could have literally taken a guy, given him all of Deshaun Watson's physical ability, and then just remove the name Deshaun Watson, and the narrative would be completely different. It would be a completely different story.
You just nailed it.
And because guess what? It's all about Deshaun. It's always been about Deshaun. It always will be about Deshaun.
Because
people will not like this team or root for this team or give this team the benefit of the doubt because they signed Deshaun Watson to a $230 million guaranteed deal when he was in the midst of legal troubles. But you notice how they don't say anything about Alvin Kamara, and he got sent to. He actually had to plead guilty. He actually had to pay a settlement, to court documents on record.
Dude, put this roster around Lamar Jackson. What's the narrative? Put the Browns roster around Lamar Jackson. What's the narrative? Super Bowl contenders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lamar Jackson's going to win his second MVP. Put this offensive line because the roster, we compete, pretty good with the Bengals, I would say. Put this offensive line around Joe Burrow. Next Tom Brady. Oh, he's gonna be he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT, dude. This
defensive line on the Bengals.
It's selective outrage, bro. That's what it is.
It really is.
National media. So it is what it is, man. Let them be that way. Seriously, I don't care.
He also Pee Wee says, okay, he's agreeing about the whole QB system and whatnot. In that regard, do you have any concerns that Stefanski can adapt to the caliber of the core? Yes, I have no concern whatsoever. No, Kevin Stefanski is known to being really good with quarterbacks. That's why Kirk Cousins had the best seasons of his career with Kevin Stefanski as his offensive coordinator and play caller. Jacoby Brissett, statistically, his best season of his career, even though it wasn't a full year, was with Kevin Stefanski as his play caller. Baker Mayfield, best season of his career, Kevin Stefanski as his play caller. I have no concerns whatsoever, and I mean that. I don't know if you guys do. No concern from me.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I have no reason. to
Nothing
feel
with Stefanski.
concern.
No.
Although I guess that does kind of go with Rocky's question, where like he's concerned about how in the preseason Aditi and Deshaun apparently were asking Kevin to open up the offense more and stretch the field. Which, I mean, I don't know. Does that scare you guys? I feel like that's just Kevin didn't really want to do anything too crazy in the preseason and didn't want to show like the kind of routes and the kind of
repeat that. I missed that. What happened?
Yeah, like apparently Aditi was asking Kevin about, are you going to throw the ball downfield more? And apparently Deshaun was like, yeah, I want to throw the ball downfield more in my preseason games, because like they were pretty conservative with the way that they were play calling for some of the offensive.
That's
like,
a
sets.
media narrative, man. I was listening to a local radio station. Dude, they freaked out because in maybe it was against Washington. I don't know if it was against Washington or Philly. The Browns had like 27. Was it not 27? Maybe it was 27 first downs because they just weren't throwing the ball down the field. Dude, who cares? It's preseason football. I don't need my quarterback throwing 60-yard bombs. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it as an issue, and I see more people talking about it. It doesn't. I don't know why that's scary. Like, I don't know. It doesn't scare me. I don't know about you guys. I don't know why we care. I think that's just a media narrative.
I think that's all it is. You guys mentioned conservative. I think that's all it is. Protect your quarterback, short and easy plays in the preseason. Get in, get out of there. I mean, I think that's all it is.
I mean, look at when we were in the goal line and we were at like the 1 yard line and we ran three straight times. Like, we didn't do any pass plays. We didn't do any interesting concepts. It was just run to the left, run to the left, run to the left. And it was, and we turned over on downs because Kevin would rather score 0 points in a preseason game than give anyone any sort of hints into what he actually wants to do on the goal line in that situation. And you didn't have Nick Chubb. So it's like, what's the point? Like, obviously in that situation, they're probably going to run Nick Chubb or they're going to have a specific package. Like, then they're not going to tell you that. You just have to assume that, yeah, that's not the in-game situation. They're not going to show you what they're going to do in the preseason. They're not going to be overly aggressive. I mean, the fact is that there were just two good plays where Deshaun could throw downfield, and he did. So they're not going to do anything that they don't have to. They're not going to, they're not going to do anything that they don't absolutely need to appease the fans because they want to see him throw downfield during a preseason game. No one cares. They don't care. They do not care.
And again, like, I'm not kidding. I'll never forget social media. The Browns obviously don't convert it and score that touchdown. Freaking out like we're in midseason form. Are like, you guys kidding me? You didn't have Nick Chubb on the field. You didn't have Joel Bitonio on the field. Like, we're really gonna freak out because Kevin Stefanski decided to run it 3 times. Like,
after it had rained for like 2 hours and it was wet and they didn't feel like having the offense out there for much longer anyways. Like,
you have to understand, guys, it's not just the preseason for the players. It's the preseason for the fans to start overreacting.
Of course.
They got to practice their overreactions. Yep.
Jeff, I'm not mentioning any names. I'm not going to mention any names.
I don't listen. I can't anymore.
I'm not even going to go there. Not even going to go. I can't. I just can't. Nick Chubb would have punched it in. Yeah, of course.
For sure.
Easily. Good head coach does not show his offense in a preseason game. Absolutely. Jordan adds that every team only opens about 10% of the playbook, and that's unless they have a rookie QB. Yeah, I mean, if you watch the Texans, Colts, Panthers, they're going to play a lot. They're going to show a lot more of their playbook because they got rookies playing. So that's what I would say too. Connie adds that she loves the Browns being underestimated because they never see them coming. Let's hope that's the case this year. And then she adds that the preseason is not about winning games. I would like to win, but I could agree with that for the most part. I just want to see guys trying to make the roster.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, to those type of players, it matters, and they want to win. They want to go out there and play football. I can go into that whole Harborough speech after that Baltimore loss if you want me to, but
I'm good unless you really want to.
I'm just saying. I mean, it does matter to people.
I know. It's funny. Pee Wee adds, isn't it nice? Change of pace. The other teams quickly pounce on our cut players. Even the Cardinals trade for our backup quarterback. Also, shout out to Josh Dobbs. He's going to have an opportunity to start in Arizona.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know they're doing a tank job out there, but still.
I mean, I
Williams.
think I remember seeing something where like the Browns were like surprised that the Cardinals called them for Josh Dobbs, and I mean, being able to flip him for a pick, I mean, that's just icing on the cake right there. I mean, they already, I think, wanted to move off that contract because they just saw how good DTR was, but being able to do that and get a pick back and not have to actually pay any money for his contract, I mean, it was just like the perfect situation.
Really?
Also, I completely forgot, and this is on me because, like I said, there's been a lot going on. The Browns did make a trade for a kicker. Probably should talk about it. The Browns gave up a 2025 seventh rounder, so very valuable draft pick that clearly is going to change our franchise.
True.
For Hopkins, Dustin Hopkins? What were your guys' thoughts on that trade? It obviously means the end of Cade York, who decided to sign with the Titans practice squad after the Browns tried to bring him back. Right move, because I would want a change of scenery too, and especially his best success was down south. So best of luck to him. And if he kicks the game winner against us in week 3, we're gonna lose our minds
because they traded for Nick Folk. So Nick Folk,
hey man, unless he gets hurt.
Another thing about it was, if you bring York back and Hopkins struggles, then it's like a whole conversation that the fans have to have. Like, oh, but York's right on the practice squad. Why don't you bring York back up? It's just a whole bunch of nonsense. So
York, Cade, look, Cade was done. It didn't matter. His mental was demolished. Like, I don't know what the heck happened to him. I saw a bunch of people complaining about, oh, it's Corey Bojorquez is holding. It sucks. It's what's causing him to miss. And it's like, yeah, but he doesn't miss at practice. So I don't even know what the heck you're talking about. And I mean, look, even if they brought him back, I think Cade just like there was something about the situation here that he just like he could not get over it mentally. I mean,
he was done, man. He was done.
You missed 2 go-ahead field goals to win the game. When one of them is brought back by a penalty, and then you miss the second one. I mean, there's no coming back from that. Like it's like I'm trying to remember what his name was. He was on the Orlando Magic back during the Shaq era. And he missed like 2 free throws in a row during a playoff game, and then he was like an 85% free throw shooter, and then he proceeded to be like a 50% free throw shooter the rest of his career because it messed him up so mentally. Like it's stuff like that. Like he must have just gotten so far into his own head that he just completely forgot how to kick, or he's just so he gets so like focused on it that he cannot just do it naturally. And he just needs to I guess he just needs to reset. And so I know the Browns probably wanted to bring him back. I think Kevin wanted him to be a guy who you nurture him and you get him back into the rhythm of things and then you bring him back. But I think it was best for Cade for him to get out of here because there was obviously something wrong with this situation for him.
Agreed. I think we should treat the chat because we got nearly 50 people in the chat. I think we should treat them to the Cade York farewell video.
Oh God.
No, it's actually really well done. Really well done. So everyone in the chat, we have a treat for you. I hope you can hear this okay. This is courtesy of ESPN Cleveland. It's absolute. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I promise you, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. So just give me 1 second here, and I'm going to load this thing up. And like I said, if you guys can't hear it, please tell me, and then I'll just not show you guys, but it's going to be fantastic. For the record, have you guys seen it yet?
Yes. I don't think I've seen this.
Okay. All right. I'm really hoping this works out because Zach knows. It's seriously pretty creative. It's pretty good. So, all right. 1 second here. All right.
We like your, and I think you're going to be a Browns fan favorite for a while.
Cade York trying to win the game for the Browns. Snap back. He's into it. Line drive. End over end. The kick is up, and it is. And it is good. And York hit the field goal from 58 yards out with 8 seconds left to go in the ball game.
When you're gone, the pieces of my heart are missing you.
That's why they drafted Cade York in the 4th round. We said, get him into the 40-yard line, and he hits it. This is unbelievable, Jim.
I can't remember it, but just think of this. I don't think the Browns have ever had a game-winning field goal that long by anybody.
I miss you.
Browns down by 2. Here's York. He's into it. End over end. That kick is up, and it is. No, he missed it.
Cade York misses it wide right again. No good. He missed it wide right.
And Cleveland, we may have a problem there.
This is messed up.
Kick is no good. He missed it again.
And he pulled that one left, Jim. He missed the right, overcompensated, and pulled it left. And so all the good vibes that you had from the first 3 questions that we were hoping had been answered,
That's right.
don't feel answered anymore.
For all of our players, the preseason is just a time to work on your craft and get better.
No good. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That was ugly all the way.
Do you expect him to be the kicker with one? Yeah, I think all those type of things, as you know.
Bro, that is
we
so
always keep those
it's so
internal.
bad.
Lines this kick, and it is no good. He lines it and hooks it wide to the left, and Cade York is down now.
How much did you want that? Want that opportunity?
Come on, man. That's like 6 questions. Of course, I freaking wanted to put it through. That's enough, dude.
Dude, the fact that he gave attitude to Easterling of all people.
I mean, dude, at that point, I think he knew. Like, he was aware. Like, yeah, I don't think that I think he knew. Like, I mean, come on, it's after the game. He missed the extra point. He misses the game tying. I think it was game tying field goal. I mean, dude, at that point, it's just like he knew. He had to know, right? Like, there had to be like a feeling like, yeah, dude, this is freaking over.
Probably just so mad at himself and at the situation that he didn't want to answer questions. But dude, like, it was so Baker-esque. It really was.
It was. It was honestly, it was childish. And Jordan Nats, he could kick a football over those mountains. Honestly, the leg was never the question. Like,
it was the accuracy.
Yeah. And also, another good point. Yeah. I'll never forget it. Just being real. I'll never forget that week 1. That was absolutely awesome.
No,
absolutely awesome.
Dude, he did save us from losing to Baker week 1.
Thank God.
Something that
we would have never lived it down. So like that. So you know what? I think the 4th round pick was worth just that one game. I think it was totally worth it. Like, oh man.
Look, as a wrap. Sorry, Jack.
I looked it up. It was Nick Anderson in 1995. He missed 4 free throws in a row that would have won them the game. And then his career was destroyed. He could not play the game anymore. He couldn't take free throws. He couldn't do anything because he would literally have panic attacks. Just thinking about missing 4 free throws in a row. It was like, it literally ruined his career.
Jeez, this got serious.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, man. Anyway, Jack, now is a perfect time after that really depressing, information you provided us with on Nick Anderson. I think it's a great time to lift everyone's spirits by telling them why they need to go check out Homage.
Well, guys, we're at the precipice where it's about to be Brown season. It's almost October, meaning that the Guardian season is almost over. And so that means that you need to start rotating your entire wardrobe over to the Browns again. And it's important because obviously today, if you're in Ohio, it was like 65 degrees. It's already almost fall. It's almost winter. You're going to have to start adding more and more hoodies, long sleeves, and you're still going to need t-shirts because it's going to be hot this weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, so you need to make sure that you are loaded up on all kinds of stuff from our good friends at Homage. They got everything you want from every single team, but obviously I think a lot of people here are probably going to be looking at a lot of their cool, awesome Brown stuff, whether it's your Nick Chubb jerseys, your NBA or NFL Jam stuff, the new Browns logo. Thank God it's not on the midfield. Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord. Wow.
Or even again, if you really want to be like looking far out there, I mean, Christmas is in like 4 months. Maybe you could get someone that Homage starter jacket. You could get it for yourself because obviously it's going to be cold. So there's just so many awesome stuff over there at Homage, whether it's, Brown stuff, Guardian stuff, Cavs stuff. They're coming up soon too. And all of it is in, every single style, every single design, and all of it is available for really great prices. It's awesome quality. We're all wearing Homage stuff. It's super comfortable, super nice. They have stuff that, again, like no one knows who the Cleveland Crunch are. I know who they are, and somehow Homage did too. So the fact that you can find all these awesome stuff, they can have a bunch of different designs, all styles, so they work in all weather conditions. You got to go check it out. You got to go find some new stuff to add to your wardrobe because you're gonna need it. The seasons are changing, and so should you. You should change into a new pair of Homage wear.
That was
Wow.
fantastic. That
Bravo, dude.
I needed
one
that.
Up the top. Yeah,
No,
I
that
know.
was good. No, seriously, that was good because it was cold today, and next week it's going to be 90. So
That's what I'm saying. You need
That's how it goes
you need multiple pairs of Homage apparel.
Yep, absolutely. As we're wrapping things up, guys, is there anything else you guys want to add?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, there you go.
The only thing I have to add, Ohio State football is back, of course, on Saturday, 3:30. Scarlet and Gray Podcast is going to have a special game day edition for you guys, game day preview that you're going to want to make sure you check out. It's going to drop on Saturday morning. But we also have at less than an hour away, the Dog Chug is going to be live at 10 o'clock here on the Network 216 YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss any of our shows. Like the video and subscribe if you're brand new to the channel, trying to reach 2,000 subscribers. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the Faithful Dogs Podcast. We can't wait to talk to you all again soon. And go Browns, baby.
Like, comment, and sub again, please.